When I first listened to Gloria, my first reaction was, ooh, it sounds mysterious. And after listening to the song, you get the sense that it's an interesting mixture of different emotions. On one side, you have this kind of sad and desperate emotion where she's trying to escape from the ruined world. But on the other hand, you also have the sense of a glimmer of hope that something good is going to happen to her. So let's take a look at how GEM actually achieves that effect. Now, obviously, a lot of that is due to things like the choice of instruments, the arrangement, the general speed of the song, the drum beat, the sound effects, and all of that. But for this exercise, I just want to focus on the scale that she's using. So let's take a look at how the song starts, because the first four chords that we hear right at the beginning of the song is actually pretty telling. So the chords go like this. So as you can see, all four chords are actually rooted on this note. This is E, and so that gives us a clue that the song is based on some kind of E scale. And if you look at the first and last chords being used, the last one being this is E major chord, and the first one is this. This is still the E major chord, except it also extends up to the next E. This suggests to us that the scale being used here is E major. But there's a little wrinkle to this, because while the second chord, that's this one, still uses a key from the E major scale, it transitions over to this chord as the third one. Now, this one is not on the E major scale anymore. This has a flattened sixth. And that already leaves things a little bit intriguing, because we get the general feeling that we're on the E major scale, but there's a little bit of ambiguity on where the sixth note actually sits. Is it the regular sixth or is it the flat sixth? And frankly, the first verse of the song doesn't actually give us that answer. The first verse goes like this. As you can see, it uses pretty much every other note on the E major scale except this one. It does not tell us where the sixth note is. However, when we get to the chorus, this is what we have. Now we have a definitive answer, because while the rest of the keys stay on the E major scale, we are explicitly using this one, the flat sixth. And this one note, the flat sixth, is a big reason why this song sounds the way it does. Because while you can pretend the rest of the song is done in a major scale, when you get to the most powerful part of the chorus, and in fact this is the highest note of the chorus, by using the flat sixth, it gets us closer to the minor scale. Remember, the minor scale is when you have the third, sixth, and seventh flattened. Well, that's what's happening here. The sixth note gets flattened, and that note is being used as the major emphasis within the chorus. Another place where the flat sixth gets emphasized is during the second verse of the song, where you have notice this is where she utilizes the flat sixth again. And this occurrence is unique. She only does this exactly once across all the repetitions of the verse. And I don't know about you, but when you first heard that line, ending with this note, did you feel that was an extra special note? Like it had extra emotion, had extra meaning attached to it? Because that's what I felt, and it's all thanks to this special flattened sixth. Now, we've talked about how GEM escalates her songs as she keeps repeating the chorus. She keeps adding new instruments, new layers, new effects to make the song grow more and more epic. Now in Gloria, she actually does something else that's special, because in the last repetition of the chorus, it goes like this. So this actually brings the chorus to a new height, literally, because previously the chorus stopped at this. This was the highest note you've seen before, but in the last repetition of the chorus, she actually goes all the way up to here. On top of that, she also flattened the seventh as well to become this. So you have, notice both the sixth and seventh got flattened. This brings the scale even closer to the E minor scale. In fact, for this entire part of the chorus, you can consider that to have shifted over to the E minor scale. And again, what that does is adds yet another extra punch. It gives the music even more emotional depth at that point. And one more thing I want to talk about is how the song ends, because the way it ends is also special. Now, typically in a song, if you're using the E major scale, what you do is start with E, which we had. We talked about the first four chords, they're all rooted on the E note. But when the song ends, you'll also want it to end on the E note to kind of bring the music back home so that there's a resolution and everything sounds like it's finished. But in this song, it doesn't actually do that. So if you look at how the song ends, it goes. And it ends on the third note of the scale as opposed to the root note, which is the first note. And even the instrumental during the outro does this. Again, as you can see, it ends on the third note of the scale, just like her vocal. Doing this has the effect of making the music sound not quite finished, like you're still waiting for more to happen because it hasn't fully resolved yet. And this is quite reflective of what's happening in the MV. In the MV, basically a door is opening, but you don't know what's behind that door yet. And this being the first song of the album, again, as I said, it has the role of getting you interested, invested in the full story so that you want to see what happens next. So doing this, leaving the song in a not completely resolved state, achieves that purpose very well. This is basically the musical equivalent of fading to black and saying to be continued. So that was my analysis of Gloria, the first song in GEM's new album Revelation. And this series is to be continued.